Welcome to the Rob Liefeld Show featuring Robservations. I bring over 40 years experience in comic books and entertainment across 5 decades. I offer insights and opinions on the business and the art of comic books and pop culture. If it's happening in games and movies, in streaming, or comic books, we're covering it right here on the Robservations Show. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Rob Liefeld Show featuring Robservations on our dedicated podcast network. We are still Robservations here on YouTube when you can see us. We are the Rob Liefeld Show. I'm Rob Liefeld. In case we needed to get that out of the way, I am Rob, or as the Italians call me, Liefeld. Is it you, Liefeld? It is I, Liefeld, okay? Maybe Liefeld would have been a better handle. I've been making comic books for 40 years. I've been making them across 5 decades. Hired in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. I am still rocking the boots, okay? I am in the game making comics. I love comics. I love talking to you about comics, and that's what we're going to do today on our newest edition. In my comic book career, I should let you guys know, because here's the deal. What's in my head is I watch all manner of shows, talk shows, sports and politics, a lot of talking heads, some people in the game, some people out of the game, some people not even in the game very long. A lot of these athletes, 5, 6 years gone, suddenly they're experts critiquing like all-time greats. It's kind of like bozo time, but I value the people who are actually doing it. Oh man, don't even get me started on the entertainment people. Okay, let me tell you, like for instance, there's the new Facebook movie, whatever that was called. The first one, I just call it the Facebook movie. So Aaron Sorkin is back to do the new Facebook movie. And there's already giant articles. Please, Aaron Sorkin, don't direct it. Well, Dave Fincher can't direct it because he's exclusive to Netflix and his dance card is full. He's doing the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood spinoff from the Tarantino script, with Brad Pitt. Dave Fincher, fantastic, amazing. But guess what? He's not available. Aaron Sorkin wrote The Social Network. That's the name of the movie, the Facebook movie. So now he's going to direct it. Aaron Sorkin, do not direct this. Written by a guy who's never directed dick squat. It's just, everybody has a microphone right now, right? Everybody gets a microphone. So everybody gets something to say. My wish for you is that when you listen to the people who have something to say, they at least did something. Hey man, 5 years in the National Football League is 5 years. It may not be a Hall of Fame career. Maybe you were a career backup. You know who I'm talking about. And you're always giving people advice. You know who I'm talking about. Dude, at least they played. Some of these people, give me a break, man. So I am here in the game with you. I'm making comics every day. I have got a slew of comics coming your way. This past year, by the way, we gave you recently collected Deadpool Team Up, had a blast, brought back Crystar, introduced the Dragon Lord, kind of a dream of mine, a character I really dug that I wanted to put in the spotlight, and I was able to do that again with this character who hadn't appeared in I think about 40 years in a Marvel comic book. Really fun stuff. Recently collected, was able to get foreign editions of it when I was overseas. Very exciting. This just came out, collecting my 2 Deadpool Bad and Badder Blood books. There will be no more of these, by the way, because I'm done. I'm donezo. I'm gone. I did had my fun, did my time, but in my last, let's call it the twilight years, I'm just going to do my own stuff. My own stuff being, boom, Youngblood. This came out in April. It's going mass market wide. This was the direct to consumer stuff that we were doing. It was so fun. The reprints have been straight up baller, just straight up super duper baller level. Also, if you Follow me on my own social networks. Last Blood is an exclusive book. I am still making hundreds of pages a year. I am in the game. I'm so thrilled. This year it just feels like the most exciting year because you gotta understand, we as artists, we don't know, we just follow our muse. And I really wanted to get back to Youngblood with Youngblood, got it out there, and you guys have showed up in crazy, crazy numbers. And you know, on my podcast, I said we would do the numbers. I'm going to tell you right now, we have done numbers that would put our book at over 300,000 units. That's the amount of dollars. That's the money this book has made. It would be a top 5, top 10 earner for 2025 right now if we stop. But we're not stopping. It's going into the catalog. You're going to see it in the mass market in November. November, we're bringing it to you. So stay tuned. So like I said, I just there are people out there, they're doing shows, they're slinging their opinions. Give measure to everything said by the people who are saying it seriously. We are here to celebrate and love on comics in a way that I do every single day in my life. If you know me, and we've had a discussion today, we talked comics. My son and I, we talk comics. My wife and I, we talk comics. All my buddies on the phone, we talk comics. We got a bunch of cool topics that we are going to, comic book related, we're going to discuss today. I'm really excited, but I wanted to kick off because this was a very exciting week. A very exciting week in the comic book realm, and I'm going to tell you why. Comic books' #1 talent, the hottest guy in the business, Mr. kind of everybody wants some, you know, Q Van Halen right now, and they're brilliant. What a jam and hit that is. Everybody wants some. Everybody wants a piece of one Dan Mora. He has been tearing it up. I came to encounter Dan Mora on Once and Future, which was a King Arthur book over at Boom Studios. He has in the last few years been really a product of DC Comics, probably their MVP, their #1 guy. He's climbed the mountain. He hits all the sweet spots. Look at who they gave Deadpool, Batman, the first DC Marvel crossover in 2 decades. Who they give it to? They gave it to Dan Mora. Who'd they put him with? Grant Morrison. Legend. I mean, this guy, the planets have lined up. He's got a very kinetic, very it's an open but kinetic style. I really enjoy it. To me, if you do the faces well, if you do the figures well, and you've got dynamics and decent storytelling, good storytelling, you're my guy. I'm into you. Like, but you have to have all of those: the faces, the figures, and the dynamics, which is part of your storytelling and your layouts. Dan Mora is the real deal. He is absolutely cooking right now. Deadpool, Batman, going to be a giant book. But the curtain was pulled back. Boom! The biggest writer, most popular writer in the business, revealed that they're teaming up. Robert Kirkman, Dan Mora, Transformers. Holy shit! Were you wondering how they were going to follow up Daniel Warren Johnson's blazing 2-year saga where he just completely blew up and made Transformers bigger than they've ever been in comics? The most buzz, the most excitement. How do you follow that up? Robert Kirkman's like, I'll show you how. It's me, and it's the biggest artist in comics right now. Kirkman, Mora, Transformers announced. The comics industry shook. I mean, this guy has been, like I said, the #1 artist in comics, the biggest asset for DC Comics, getting all their primo assignments. I've said it last episode. I do believe the Batman Deadpool, the DC published version, is going to probably outsell the Marvel version. It's Batman's the bigger character. Grant Morrison is a legendary writer, and Dan Mora is just the hottest artist in comics. So the next month, he's teaming up. Is it 6 issues? That's half a year that he and Kirkman are going to be jamming. The pages that they released were phenomenal. Phenomenal. You know, let me see. Let me dive in here. Let me go to the social media. Let me see. I know at least I have something. I mean, just a few images that they were able to share with us. There it is. Look at that. I mean, this thing is gonna rock. I mean, we are in for a big ass treat. Here's the thing. Kirkman, he has delivered on all of his dynastic stylings. This guy, he truly was a son of Image Comics. Saw what we did, saw where we took our money, where we parked it, what we did. You guys, I've talked about it openly. For some of you, maybe you're not aware, I have 450 episodes of just a podcast. And I booted up, started doing that in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. In the context of those podcasts, I talked about my time at Extreme Studios, which I'm very ridiculously proud of. I've got right here. This is my, it's always on my desk. This is my signed copy. This has Jeff Matsuda, Danny Mickey, Dan Fraga, Marat Michaels, Chap Yap, John Sabal, anybody, everybody. I'm sorry I didn't mention everybody, but this is my last signed copy. I made a brand new Extreme Studios book, and everybody just straight up balled out. Marat Michaels with his Brigade, Dan Fraga with his Berserkers. Everybody straight up balled out. We got together. We did a store appearance here in Orange County. Did you know that Andy Park, superstar designer for Marvel Studios for the last 15 years, started at Extreme Studios? He did. We couldn't be more thrilled. Carl Allstetter just blowing it up, crushed it on Bloodstrike. But I had a studio, 64 people were under that roof. Some of the best talent, like Danny Mickey, John Sabal, Marlo Alquiza, Larry Stucker, Norm Ratmond. These are some of the killer inkers. Dan Panosian did a tour of duty with us. Art Taber did a tour of duty with us. We had Jeff Matsuda, whose work I continue to just pour over and just discover in all new ways. The guy was so phenomenal, so ahead of his time. I was so blown away. Chap Yap, Marat, Dan Fraga, Todd Knock, who I saw still doing stuff for DC Comics. I mean, all these guys continue to make comics. It makes me so proud. A bunch of the colorists, I'd say 25 of those 64 were in our color department, the Extreme color department. I took my money, the royalties that I was making from first off X-Force, and then as I've said, when we launched Image Comics, Youngblood's making $1 million. I'm getting $1 million. I'm getting $1 a book. Okay? Brigade, $1 a book. Supreme, $1 a book. I put that all towards my studio. I built up a studio. We have a library. When I want to go in and I want to read the entire adventure, the entire run of the Newman, I'm like, wow, we poured our money into making those books happen. Youngblood, Team Youngblood, Brigade, Bloodstrike, Prophet, Glory, Evangeline, Warchild, Battlestar Galactica. I'm missing all sorts. Kid Supreme, Lady Supreme. We just had a blast. Judgment Day. I poured all my resources into building that library. Briefly, I danced with some licenses. Robert Kirkman takes his fortunes, his money that he's made from all of his different successes, whether it's through his Invincible book, where I first came to know him, or Walking Dead, which I then, followed the entire run. All of his successes, he poured that into his own Skybound company. And by building up his war chest, by investing in himself repeatedly again and again and again, he created this all-new universe, the Energon universe, via licensing the Transformers and G.I. Joe. I had never heard them referred to as the Energon universe. I believe most people they assume Energon universe, the modern Energon universe, is a byproduct of what Robert Kirkman is doing with Skybound. And you've gotten all the Duke comic, the Scarlet comic, the G.I. Joe comic, the Larry Hama Continued Adventures of G.I. Joe comic. I know it's not what it's called, but you've got this incredible Transformers book, which is one of the big, I'd say, the last 2 years, the biggest success of the last 2 years. I'd say absolute Batman right after it. He's just created all of this excitement, and now he invests himself in it. You've got this brand that he elevated. He came on the show when it was just a podcast. He came on the show in January, maybe early February, and we discussed all of the different aspects of his business. And he talked about how he was determined when the licenses came up to win them from Hasbro. And he has just a powerful 1-2 punch. I love G.I. Joe. I did Snake Eyes. Dead Game. That was like a bucket list item. So many of you love G.I. Joe, and the love for Transformers is next level. I I didn't think I could like them more than what I saw with Danny Warren Johnson, and then I saw what Dan Mora is doing, and I mean, just unbelievable. So Robert Kirkman has taken his superstar status and all of the incredible fortunes that he made, and he has reinvested. And part of that was beating everybody else out for those licenses because he didn't just walk in alone. He was competing against multiple other publishers who wanted access. I can't think of a hotter license. I mean, maybe the Turtles and the Energon stuff, the Transformers and the GI Joe. And so now Robert has that in his portfolio. He's got Skin Breakers coming. He's obviously got his giant Battle Beast, which is a component of the Invincible, part of the Invincible success. But like, this guy is the blueprint for who you want to be. The Image owners kind of set out. We made our studios, our libraries. Maybe we licensed a couple things along the way, launched some cool talent. Robert's done all that, plus land the two biggest, hottest licenses. And if you've ever talked to Robert Kirkman, as I've been able to over the last, I think I've known him now 23 years, 22 years. His passion, his love for this stuff is like my love for the X-Men. His passion is severe. It is legit. And that's why it's so good. That's why you had Daniel Warren Johnson, and now you're getting Robert himself. And I loved in his promotional, he's like, I'm writing the Transformers. He's been doing Void Rivals, of course, which was kind of the sneak attack into the Transformers license. People didn't understand until the book was launching that it had a Transformers component element to it. So I just want to say hats off. Biggest news of the week, maybe the biggest news of the year. Dan Mora going over to Skybound, basically going over to Image Comics. I know from my buddies in Image Comics that news was received big time. One of the biggest, buzziest, most exciting. I was going on social media because I'm so excited because it's an earth shaking for the comic book universe. It's a big rattle. It's a big move, and so very excited to get it. Applause to Robert Kirkman. I want to get all of these covers. It's one of these things that I haven't wanted to kind of like Pokemon catch them all. But I'm going to with this. So kudos. The Kirkman Dynasty continues to roll. Dan Mora, biggest artist in the industry, teams with Robert Kirkman on the hottest title. And I got to believe that thing is going to do I think the enthusiasm for it is, it's what we talk about all the time. It's organic. You're excited about for the stories you're going to experience, not just the covers that are going to be on top of it. So congratulations. Looking forward to that. We are going to discuss heritage auctions, and we are going to discuss today comic book. We're going to take a peek behind. We're going to go into the classroom and enter Comic Book University 101 because what I have seen out in the wild, we need to discuss terminology and what certain terminologies for the different jobs that are done in the comic book production chain. And we're going to have a good time sharing that with you on today's episode. A lot of fun, a lot of topics to get to, and we're going to do it right now. So here we have the Heritage Auction catalog from today's session. The comic book art section went to almost 3 o'clock. Ran from 9, good 6 hours. And full of, you never ever know what art's going up, what art's going to explode, what art's going to, you just really never know. I don't believe I've had anything that I've submitted. I look forward to that day. Original art is a really fun exercise for me. I dig it. I've traded some pieces to other people and they've put them through, and I've watched that happen. But sometimes when a piece catches fire, it's just so fun to watch. One of the big breakouts today was a cover by Jock. This incredible, very You gonna adjust for me? Good God Almighty. Anyway, it went for $288,000. This very, very famous cover of the Joker by Jock. He put it up. He put the results up himself. 288. That thing caught fire. It starts off at 30, 40,000. Boom, 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 boom. Goes to 100, stalls, stalls, stalls. 120, 25, 130, 140, 150, 60. Next thing you're at 288. Huge, massive. Todd McFarlane had a big ass day. I've maintained for a long time. His Spider-Man stuff is the gold standard until proven otherwise. Now I have an interior page. I know what it's like. I know what the excitement Jock had. And I again, you're going to always get me expressing my own experiences. I'm not, I'm not living past glories out. I'm in the business. I have a resume. Sometimes I refer to achievements on my resume, but I'm not retired. I'm not in my rocking chair. I'm not in the retirement home living out past glories, an old touchdown, a giant breakout run or a series of 3-pointers. I'm just talking about achievements. But last year, interior page from New Mutants 98 with Deadpool went for 950, 960. It kissed a million. It was very exciting. I know what it's like. This cover, I think, entered right around 100, maybe 80. It was in the 100. Like, this incredible cover by Todd McFarlane went home. Somebody got it. Was it $440,000? We're talking hammer price here. Hammer price, okay? Todd's Spidey stuff, until proven otherwise, has gotten the most juice. Spider-Man is arguably, year in, year out, Marvel's most popular character, most recognizable character. Has been for pretty much the last 50 years. Todd's got the most exciting, celebrated run, most popular run. These covers do not fall off trees. Now, you never know. Maybe the guy thought he was going to get 600K. I actually texted my buddies. I said, I think this is going for 600K. 444,000, 450,000, whatever it did, is a giant number. Gigantic number. That was very exciting. Jock's 288,000, very exciting. Along the way, you just don't know. Today, if you were a Jim Lee fan and you wanted some of his DC work, this was the day to grab it. He had splash pages going for 200. Was it? Let me see. He had splash pages. And look, you assume that the people that put these pages in are trying to line it up with the hype that's going on, given the film. Given the you had a so this sold for, with the hammer price. This is you could have gotten a gym. Okay, here's one. Actually, this was $10,000. That doesn't include the hammer, but you got a nice Wolverine, good face, Maverick. Always thought this was a cool character. This bad boy went for 10K, which for Jim stuff, the X-Men stuff, was the most affordable X-Men stuff that's been on the market from him in a very long time. Now, where is that damn the Superman stuff? I want to get these pages because some of these were just juicy deals. You got, pretty sure this one right here. Yeah. You could have gotten a Superman splash page today for $3,800, or is it $3,600? What is it at Hammer? Let me give you the Hammer price on that. $3,600 got you this juicy, beautiful. That's Jim Lee and Scott Williams. It's a freaking splash page. That double pager, I think, went for 11. Did it go for 11? 11. Okay, with Hammer, 13.8. Double page, Justice League, Darkseid. There were deals to be had today in the space. Okay, that right there. There's a freaking Superman poster. It's a freaking. Honestly, afterwards, I was like, why didn't I grab that? Why didn't I grab that? That bad boy right there. Let me see what I got here. That bad boy went for, let me see. I was trying to record all these. Oh, there it is. Okay, here it is. We got it right down here. That went for, sorry. Liefeld, do your preparation. Come on, you have time to kill. You have time to kill. You're killing it with me right now. I want to say $8,000. That's what I want to say. I want to say that this juicy, delicious. Here it is. I got it. Thank you. Thank you very much. It went for, with hammer. It sold it at $8,000. So with hammer, $9,800. Under 10 grand. Look at that. So it was the day to get some really good deals. And like, Liefeld, that's a lot of money. $10,000 when there's covers going for $450. There's an interior. I'm not going to get it. A juicy, sweet interior Amazing Spider-Man page went for $222,000. Interior Todd McFarlane Amazing Spider-Man. So stuff's all over the place. Good day to be a DC Jim Lee fan, and even those X-Men pages, $10,000. No John Byrne X-Men. See, you guys got to understand. I'm going to confess to you right now. I am an X-Men kind of maniac here. Can I reach this? No, I can't. Wow, nice move. Went for the spinner rack, couldn't reach it. There is no property, no title, franchise, characters that I have more of an investment in than the X-Men. I have more John Byrne, Terry Austin pages. I have, I think, 24 total. If you include the George Perez pages with the Terry Austin inks, and that goes to probably 28. I'm always trying to pick off pages. There were none in today's auction. Not a single John Byrne, Terry Austin page. Probably the first time in any auction over the last at least 8 years. I even contacted Heritage. Are you going to have any? They're like, no, not this auction. First auction, no Uncanny X-Men, John Byrne, Terry Austin in the longest time. I want to grab those pages, man. I want to grab them. Whether it's slabbed, I have my #1 signed by Stan Lee, 5/5, the very first X-Men #1 by Lee and Kirby. My collection, I have the most investment in comics and doubles. Look, I got their action figures. This is something I was showing on my live stream the other night. I can't believe it. It's the 50th anniversary, but I got this one. It was the 35th. You guys, how many of you guys have this? This is the packaging is so sweet. Look at that. Look at that. There they are. The commemorating the seminal 1975. Now it's 50. I got this 15 years ago, okay? I got this 15 years ago. This brilliant collectible. This is always nearby. This is always right next to my desk. I just cannot love this more. My biggest investment is the X-Men. It's the characters that I have, like, just financially the most invested in. I've told my wife, I said, hey, you know, when I go bye-bye, when I take the dirt nap, this is the stuff. This is the stuff. And I've given her some names, like, contact these people. Help move, because my family doesn't want any of that crap. And I can't move. I cannot yet bring myself to sell any of it because I love it all. I love it all. I've spent a great deal of time amassing these incredible pages. Well, maybe in the next time I'll bring some pages, some original art. But John Byrne, Terry Austin, I believe the best run ever in the history of comics. It was what inspired Jim to do his run, which is a lot of sequels to a lot of their stories, which hadn't been done because Chris Claremont did not want to do sequels to his run. He always wanted to push the envelope, go further. But we as fans, Jim Lee, little kid Rob Liefeld, little kid Todd McFarlane, we grew up on that stuff. We wanted to go back to the Savage Land and have Magneto, and we wanted to go back and have more Imperial Guard adventures and be with the Shi'ar, and we wanted more Hellfire Club. And Jim was able to convince Chris to go back through the greatest hits that were established in the John Byrne, Terry Austin run and revisit those to great success. It's not just how you're drawing, it's what you're drawing, okay? And that run was phenomenal. It is, again, my biggest concern with the X-Men, and the reason I bang on them so much is they're the characters I love the most, and because I love them the most, I've invested the most of my money with trinkets and artwork and comic books, all of it, okay? And then, of course, there's my own body of work. Good God, I built a wing. So take, like, I create, hello, okay? And you know, I always grab my stuff and show you guys, you know. one of the greatest cable action figures of all time, right here, baby. Oh, look up cable. Camera's on. Okay. Woo, baby, baby. I mean, come on. Look at this. Look at these guns. This is how they. Oh my gosh. I may just have to turn the camera off so I can play with my cable a little. Yeah, that's my nickname for that thing. Look, I am an X-Men-aholic. Please don't fall over. Please go back on your stand. Got it. Okay. Fun day at Heritage Auction. The cover here, the Frank Frazetta. Everyone told me it was going to go for $1 million. It did. This went for $1 million. $1 million. Okay, so fun day at the auction. A lot of Bronze Age stuff. A lot of 1970s, 1980s Avengers, Fantastic Four, John Buscema, Fantastic Four, Avengers, Conan covers, splash pages, Defenders. Some really good stuff. Some really good deals. I'll tell you one of the deals and steals right here. This killer Silvestri X-Men cover, one of the best, went for under six figures. I think it went for 80. It was a steal. It was maybe it went for 75. I don't know what it turned out to be, but again, you just never know. Maybe next auction, if it was 3 months from now, maybe that goes for 125,000. That's the thing about the auctions. You just never know. And yes, I'm talking about ridiculous amounts of money. Please, I'm aware I'm talking about giant. $10,000 is a lot of money. $10,000 is a lot of money. So when I'm like, hey, there's a great deal on a Jim Lee page at $10,000, but when at some point they were going in the high 30s, when they go to 10, it's like real estate, you know? And now I regret I should have bought it because I like that page. Heritage auctions, always fun, always a great place to see where everyone is landing. Let me see. I think I had one page in there from the New Mutants. I call it the blob page. Let me see. What did I do with that thing? The blob page. Just I had one page in the auction. I thought it was going to do very poorly. Not my page. Wasn't my page. I didn't submit it. I just watched it. Let's see. It went for, what did it go for? Let me turn this around. Did it go for 15 grand, which was at the Hammer, I think it was 16.8, something like that. It's this page right here. If you guys remember this, I call it the blob page. I didn't ink it. Hillary Barr, fun page. Really enjoyed doing it. Terrible screen grab. Wasn't prepared. Oh, you know what? Here's the deal. But you're like, wow. I call it the blob page. I literally call it the blob page. Like I said, a lot of this stuff. I just passed it. You got Rich Buckler, 1970s Thor covers. You got a Defenders. Ed Hannigan, or maybe I think it's Ed Hannigan. It's Ed Hannigan. Rich Buckler, another Rich Buckler. Sorry, Rich Buckler and Al Milgram, but there wasn't Ed Hannigan in here. 1980s Defenders cover, or maybe it was 1979. Nope, 1980. Okay, so just a really fun. If you're into this stuff, you really lock in and you just take it. You just watch it go. Here it is. This is the page. The what I call the blob page because it's my favorite blob I ever did draw. There's two nice cables on there too. Good page. Was shocked. I literally thought it was going to go for 6 grand. Went for like 15. Fun day. You just never know what's coming. These auctions. Now the art will continue. I won't have it for this show, but on Sunday, just in case you've never done this before, and you should look. I'm going to give you some tips. I'm going to end this with some tips if you're going to get into this. So all of this has yet to happen, okay? This portion starts on Sunday afternoon. We go into the next session. I think it's session 4. Session 4 right here. All of this is going to begin on the next session, which will be Sunday. And I pick off pages in the back of the catalog all the time. They're Sunday, people are busy. Some people, I won 2.5 months ago. An Art Adams and a George Perez page. I loved them. You can pick off some good stuff in the back of the catalog. If you want to get involved in comic book artwork, and I'm going to tell you something, and it's hard. Some people don't like this. They don't like to hear it. One, it goes against their indulgences. And the second part is it's a little more expensive. So let me cover it. If you want to get into the original art game, one at a time, get one, get two, suddenly you'll have a hunger for five. Give yourself time. These collections aren't built in a week. They're not built in a month. They're built over decades. But a published page is the best thing you're going to buy. A commission, get out of the commissions. If you're going there and you're putting money in 6 guys to get them to draw what you want, that's nice. But when you go to resell that, and you're going to want to someday, trust me, I've been there. And for the one of you who goes, no, Liefeld, no, you will. You will want to sell them. When that occurs, it's not going to get the money you paid for it. Most likely, it may not, because it's not, what you have commissioned is something that is personal to you. Okay? And when you put it up there, someone's going to be like, well, this wasn't what I wanted or how I wanted this character. And maybe it's a bust shot, maybe it's a full figure, whatever. Generally, the people who buy are very research driven. They're very experienced, and they're not going to pay you a big yield for that. They're just not going to do it. Okay. They know automatically if it wasn't published, then it doesn't have the same value. Buy a cheap page from X-Men, Spider-Man. They're out there. Build your collection. So I watch a guy on social media, and he's doing this. He's been building his collection up slowly, piece by piece, over the last decade. And he started buying in, getting a random. If it's published, it automatically has more value because it's published. It's canon. It exists. It was part of a thing that mattered and got reprinted and packaged and reformatted. Okay, it was published. That's the biggest thing that I see guys making, is investing in commissions. I don't even take commissions anymore. It's a rarity. So I practice what I preach on both ends. Now, I'll have somebody sketching my book. Yes. Do I have sketchbooks? Yes. It's different. I have a universe of characters that I created. So I'll hire a guy and go, hey, Travis Charest, will you draw these characters for me? Hey, Tim Sale, God bless, rest in peace. Will you draw this for me? Switch. I'll do a drawing for them. They'll do a drawing for me. Whatever. But if you are in the art business, if you are in the hobby is what we're talking about, the hobby. I would strongly suggest that you invest first and foremost in buying published art and start scaling back on the commissions. You guys who are addicted to commissions, you don't want to hear it. Again, like I said, it's part of your indulgence. It's part of your practice. Indulgence is what you do. It's how you spend your money. But at the end of the day, and I met a guy, I'm not going to name his name, but he's like, I wish I hadn't spent 10 years getting commissions, headshots, busts, and I wish I had invested that in 1 or 2 good Jim Lee pages, Mark Silvestri pages, whomever you dig, okay? So that is my art recommendation for you. You may not like it, but I stand by it. It will do you better in the long run. Also, once you collect some pages, you can trade them for something better later. Trades are great. In trading art, I've done 2 trades in the last 10 years. I'm very sticky. I'm a stickler about selling, or I haven't sold any of my art. The art that I collect, not my own personal art. But I have done a couple of trades to get value for what I want. And that is made more possible and is a more successful venture for you when you have published art. So remember that. So that is our art section. Love the auctions. Dig them. I didn't buy anything in today's session. A couple I bid on and then bailed on because I'm like, here's the deal. San Diego's coming up. I love to buy art, published art at San Diego. And I'm like, well, I'll have more to spend in San Diego. Yes, I'm a high-end collector. I am a high-end collector. The people in the business will tell you I'm a high-end collector. I know the other high-end collectors and the highest-end collectors. But you got to start somewhere. In your first few purchases, look, I would go to George Perez in 1980, and I would rummage through the Titans pages and the Justice League pages. and he had an affordable splash page from the Justice League with Dark Side standing on the stairs with the Injustice Gang behind him. It was inked by Frank McLaughlin. I just loved it. It was the $100 that I had saved up mowing lawns, okay? And the next year he came out, I bought a page of the Russian Starfire battling his Starfire. There was a Russian super soldier in the Titans that was from the older run from the Nick Cardy era. And I bought that for $100. And, I built up by the time I graduated high school, I had 5 or 6 pages, okay? And that is my advice to you. If you want to get into the hobby, start slow and focus on published pages. That is the best advice you're going to hear. So we have done Heritage Auctions. We have done the Robert Kirkman Skybound Dynasty, all of their dynastic moves. But here is the main event today. Comic Book University, Comic Book 101. I read a lot of comments on socials across all the different platforms, and people misread or just don't understand sermon terminology. Certainly, I'm going to tell you in other industries, whether it's video games, toys, certainly movies and television, they don't understand the vernacular, the terminology that was established in the 40s, 50s, 60s in regards to producing comics. And we're going to go over some of these terms today. Embellishment, scripting, layouts, breakdowns, plot, story, writer, artist. I've got them all, and I'm going to share them with you. I had to go to the homemade place. I'll put this up when we are, if we're going to talk about pencilers, I'll hold up the penciler placard, writer, okay, story and script. I'm going to hold that up. Plot refers to story. Script. Scripter. There's been a lot of very famous scripters. Inker. Inks. Okay? I know you guys are loving my handcrafted embellisher. Embellishment. Finisher. Finishes. This all means the same thing, but we're going to go into it. Okay? So now we're back to penciler. There are different chores on the comic book food chain to get a comic book to press, to get a comic book into production. The last 20, 25 years of my life, I have been so production focused, much more so than any time previously. You find yourself, no matter who you are, you find your style, you find your niche, you find your place. And then once you've done that and you're comfortable with that, you don't mind maybe mixing it up a little and thinking to yourself, man, it would be great to go back to when all those great embellishers and finishers were haunting comic books. Haunting's the wrong word. Enriching the comic book experience. Guys like Bob McLeod, guys like Joseph Rubinstein, guys like Neil Adams, even Terry Austin, Dick Giordano, Bob Layton. In the 90s, people like Scott Williams, Art Taber, all of the different inkers from the Extreme Wildstorm, Top Cow kind of universe of inkers. Everybody brings a different flavor if you allow that flavor. And one of the ways to allow that flavor from the illustrative point is to present a looser pencil. Now, some of the tightest pencils I've ever seen come from prime John Byrne, prime Arthur Adams. I want to show you guys what those look like and how I viewed them as early as 1980 when John Byrne's X-Men stuff was still being published. In the art of John Byrne, this is such a cherished, if you can get a copy of this is one of the best art books ever published. It is just amazing, an amazing tome. And in it, for many of us, for the first time, we saw the quality of John's pencils. And some of it wasn't until, later in the book when they would show us some of these pages. And funny enough, it's interesting. So I own this. It's in my vault. This pencil drawing of Superman. It's quite a little bigger than this. That's not the scale. It's almost on like a 11 by 14 page. But throughout this book, you're given glimpses of the quality of John's pencils. Here, and you can see that a competent inker would merely have to go over John's lines as he has presented them. In Focus on John Byrne, it pretty much lays out more of how he was inking himself at the time, because when he preferred to, after the X-Men, and there's a real discourse on this. I've been in enough Byrne people really are like, wait a second, I prefer when John inks himself. Here's John Byrne's. Here's a penciled page from Mr. John, and this was inked by Tom Palmer in the Silver Surfer special. But all the information is there. Now imagine less information. Imagine basically no lighting. That's so far away. That's the shot I was hoping to show you guys, but it is very rich. Let me see if there's another reproduction of it. This is one of the shots that I was hoping. Again, I'm working with my limited capacity, but I hope you guys are digging it. That is pencils. That is amazing. The quality of those pencils. Just stunning. The detail. Look at those distant figures. Look at Cyclops and Nightcrawler. So you can see Terry Austin went over, and even in a full pencils and an inks connectivity there, Terry was able to, with the way he applies his inks, the brittle the brittle lines and the very tight, concise. We were all obsessed with how many of the lines were kind of broken and just wouldn't completely tell. It was all part of Terry's lines that he would put over John to make it camera ready, to make it production ready, because especially back then, the stuff really needed to be inked. So John Byrne, those are the quality of pencils that he is doing throughout his time, while he is producing the X-Men. Later, John goes to basic breakdowns on several jobs, but mainly he's inking himself, so he doesn't have to give himself the same quality of line art. Now, one of the best representations of another titan of the time, George Perez, of his pencils, and these are also what I would call very tight pencils. Really tight. You can go right, and George would tell you these are tight. This is from the unpublished Justice League Avengers book, and I hope you guys can get a really nice take that in. And you can see it's all there. Look at the detail on the circuitry, the figures, the faces, the rendering, the light source, everything that he wants you to see. Here's another. Just look at that bottom panel. It's all there. Look at that. He's got the background, the light source, the spotted blacks, the musculature. These are fully, those are full pencils. When those are given to an inker, the inker is basically following the information they have and maybe changing up, maybe at most, some quality of lines. When you get to breakdowns, so what I just shared with you, what I was sharing right there, those are pencils. That is that is what pencils look like. That is what my pencils look like. A fairly tight, hard lead line indicating lighting, which way, where the shadow's falling, cast shadows, rendering, musculature, hair, obviously eyes, nose, mouth, detail of faces. That is, you get full page rate. You get a full penciled page rate, whatever your full penciled page rate is on a job like that. But when you start to go and do less than that in a lesser capacity, and I wish that I had more to bear, and I literally plundered my studio for Gil Kane layouts. Gil Kane mostly a huge influence on peak Frank Miller, Daredevil, Ronin, Batman, Frank Miller, was Gil Kane. He's also a huge influence on guys like Eric Larson. Honestly, over the last 10 years, myself, he is just the single best dynamic figure artist, I believe, in the history of comics. I was poring over so many of his jobs that I knew were embellished and finished because Gil just wanted to give breakdowns. Gil penciled and inked a story for us before he passed away for Alan Moore in our book Judgment Day. And he would send us the layouts, his pencil breakdowns, which are basically mannequins, just posed mannequins. And these were cowboys and horses. And then he inked them himself. And he had a very distinct ink line. When a penciler decides to ink themselves, we are going to give ourselves less information. When I pencil for an inker, I pencil tight. When I pencil for me, I'm doing breakdowns because I'm going to be the embellisher and the finisher. Now, one of the best possible examples of embellishing and breakdowns is the dynamic that existed between Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. Possibly the most celebrated work they did together. I would put this above the Dark Knight, the Batman Dark Knight stuff, is their run on Daredevil, where Frank started off doing full pencils and Klaus was an inker. But later on, Frank was really just so invested in giving you the story, and he knew the quality of artist, because Klaus can pencil and ink with the best of him. He could be just a penciler. Most of the times he would pencil and ink his own work. But Frank knew that what was most important to the book was his specific style of storytelling, and it was his name that people were picking up the book for, but he could lean in and give Klaus just breakdowns for Klaus to do finished embellishment, finish the pencils, pick the light sources, add his brand of rendering. Now, at that point, Frank is paid less, breakdowns pay less than pencils. Pencils, let's say pencils are $300 a page, which they certainly weren't back then. And let's say inks are $250 a page, which they certainly weren't back then. If you're going to do breakdowns now, maybe you're getting $125. Well, what happens to that $175 on your $300 page? That goes to the inker. Okay, that's a rough formula. That's how it should go. So let's say that let's say the inker's making $200. Well, now he's adding $175, so he's getting $375 to finish, to embellish. Okay, so let's say $300 to Frank, $200 to the inker, but now Frank's doing breakdowns. So $375 to Klaus, $125 to Frank. You're still operating on a $500 budget for that page, but now the responsibility of the finished work has shifted to Klaus, so he's going to get paid more. Now, the crazy thing is, and I always mention all the different conventions that I attended as a kid, and we're going to get back to a couple of those when we get into these other categories, where I can share with you a specific story that pertains to all this, is early on, 1981-82, Joe Rubinstein, who you guys probably know best from all the inking that he did on the Marvel Universe Handbook stuff, but he inked over Frank Miller on the 4-issue Wolverine miniseries that they produced based on his tremendous popularity. Chris Claremont, I did a dedicated episode to the Wolverine. Early on, season 1 of Robservations, you should hunt it down. You should listen to it. I did a ton of research. Wanted to kind of share with you guys how that came to be, the influence that Shogun, the novel, prior to Shogun, the miniseries, had. Claremont was really into that, and Frank, you could see in his Daredevil work, was really into Eastern influences, and how that was right time, right place for the story that they wanted to tell. It's a great episode. I'm really proud of it. It's one of those like ones that I regard as one of my better episodes in the catalog. But early on, in the first 2 years that Frank was doing this, he was doing full pencils, and I would get a glimpse of those pencils from Joe Rubenstein, who would come to these conventions out here in Anaheim or in Los Angeles, and Joe would bring 11 by 17 Xeroxes of either the pencils or the breakdowns that he was inking over. And on Wolverine, it would shift. Some pencils, Frank Miller did full, some pages Frank did full pencils on. He sold them for $1 a page. I would give Joe Rubenstein $40 to leave with 40 pages of Frank's breakdowns, his layouts, his finished pencils. Was so awesome. A couple years ago, Rubenstein was like, "Do you still have those?" I would love to find them at this point deep in the vault of my storage unit. I have not yet come across them, but there is no way, there's no reason that I would ever have gotten rid of them. So I know that somewhere I have them. But I was able to see the different stages, a breakdown and a layout by Frank Miller, as opposed to the fully rendered Wolverine pages. And you could tell, obviously, they're the more what we would call the money shots, like Wolverine with his claws. But like, I almost bought the entire issue of Wolverine #2 with when Wolverine and Yukio are attacked by the ninjas and they jump outside the window, and I just had it in Frank Miller penciled form, and you can see, when Frank wanted to invest in the full pencils, he had no problem pulling off some gorgeous, lush pencils. But in this omnibus that Marvel produced, and it is heavy, and my arm's already getting sore. This is an example of when Frank shifted to his layout model. So you can see these are layouts that he would give to Klaus Janson for Klaus to then apply his finished art for. Now, storytelling is really important, and Frank is one of, if not the very best storyteller of a lifetime, of generations in the history of comics, okay? And so he is giving the layout, the composition, the movement, the structure, he's moving the camera exactly where he, as the writer, because Frank is writing this as well, wants to be, and then capably handing it over to Klaus for Klaus to do his finished work. Here is the last page of that story. And so you can see, and this is why, again, this is one of the great reasons why you should pick these books up, okay? This is one of the great reasons why, to compare and contrast. Now, Frank isn't wanting this inked. Frank is, I believe these are on maybe 8.5 by 11 pages, but at that point, there's no Epson printer to print this out. So Klaus, what he would do with that is he would do his own version of it, or he would light table it and put his own style over Frank's layout breakdown style. Now, I've done this. I did this uncredited, and it's been out there. I know, like Ed Piskor, for existence, did an entire episode. I did that for Mike Mignola. I laid out an entire issue, I believe it's X-Force 8, that Mike Mignola then drew and penciled and inked over my storytelling. He made a few tweaks in certain angles. He told me he did not like down shots, so he changed anything where I put the camera high. But that is called working from breakdowns, layouts. Now, again, this is what Frank is providing. He got paid as the storyteller, but not the final artist. That money, and here's the other important thing, those royalties are allocated differently, okay? So you can see in regards to Klaus was extremely, and he would only have gotten the job if he had promised to stay extremely tight on his storytelling. It's beautiful storytelling, panel placement. Frank Miller knew exactly what he was doing as a storyteller. So there is a great example of breakdowns as opposed to full pencils. We've seen full pencils with John Byrne. We've seen full pencils with George Perez. I've seen really full pencils of Art Adams that Terry Austin, he would say inking an Art Adams page would take him days because there was so many lines, so many details. Early on in my career, I handed in some pages and my editor said, "Hey, Rob, we're not paying you by the line. You get paid by the page, not by the line. You could pull back on all these lines that you're doing." So the royalty rate at both major companies changes. Your piece of the pie goes up or down depending on whether you're doing the breakdowns or whether you're doing the finishes. Now, let's say inker is 2 points. I'm sorry, penciler is 2 points, inker is 1. Breakdown may take you to 1 and an entire point goes over to the inker, okay? Or maybe you're 2.5 and he's 1. Well, suddenly he's 2 and you're 1.5. And that is how the percentage of the sales go in regards to the royalties and how they're split. This also applies to plotting, story, scripting, writing, okay? Famously during the Uncanny X-Men, and I could grab, many of these. Let me try this in show. Let me see if this is going to work in show. Can I reach it? Can I reach it, baby? Okay. Pretty sure. Okay, right here. Let's go with this True Believer. True Believer. Okay. Right here. And this is what John Byrne had fought for. Chris Claremont, John Byrne, right here in this credit, says Chris Claremont says writer, penciler, but what's in between them? Co-plotters. Co-plotters. Steve Ditko fought for this. Jack Kirby fought for this. John Byrne says he fought for this and he got tired of it. He believed that he was contributing so much to the story that he needed a story credit. Now, in the royalty age, that means he's getting a piece of the writing credit, which lowers the writer, in this case, Chris Claremont, whomever it may be, it lowers their participation. So again, any time that the credits shift, the plot is the story. The plot is what the artist works for, what the artist draws from. Let me give you an example. Now, this book isn't out yet, but it's tailor-made for this show because it's so tiny, teeny tiny, and I can show this to you. Mr. Seth DeMoose, an artist that I could not be more impressed with if I tried. I've been wanting to jump in and do work with him for the longest time, and now we are making a Bad Rock. Series together. In that first issue, I offered as an ash can. We sold out, boom, immediately. Here is my plot. What Seth wrote from on the Bad Rock story. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's go to page 17. Badrock is leaping from a plane. So we've got Badrock in the plane here, okay? But on page 17, let me tell you what Seth is drawing from here. You got these cute little bears. I write, Badrock leaps from the drone jet and lands on the snowy terrain. As he rises, he catches the eye of a pair of polar bears crossing, close on polar bears, close on them. So here is the perspective of where he's going to jump. Here is him jumping. Here is him landing, seeing the polar bears, close on polar bears, okay? This is what Seth draws from. Earlier, my splash page says Badrock striking girth, okay? I left the gesture and the swing up to Mr. Seth DeMoose. Badrock striking girth. You know what page 2 and 3 say? They say multiple panels, so it's a double pager, of Badrock and Girth trading blows amidst a snowy tundra. In the background is a science research station. They can smack each other into snow, rock embankments. There can be polar bears in the distance. We are in Alaska. You've got them facing off, trading blows, smacking each other exactly as described. I needed you to see that research station, and there it is. Oh, also it said Girth is wearing a parka. Badrock is not, okay? So you've got a parka on Girth, okay? And we'll leave it with page 4, where the Girth gets the best of Badrock and has smashed him to the ledge of a cliff. Badrock is snarling, face in the snow. Aerial view shows the steep drop below Badrock. In the page on a tight shot of Girth smiling maniacally. Okay, here we go. Girth got the upper hand, smacked him, snarling, pull back, see that he's at the edge of the embankment, Girth snarling. That, my friends, this is the script that I copied this, sent this to my good buddy Seth, and he drew from my plot. Every comic book starts with a plot. Stan Lee instigated this. Every comic book starts with a plot. A plot is I just read, but here's another one. I just read one to you, obviously, one that I gave my artist that he produced these amazing works from. Now, what this is missing is script. That's for me to apply afterwards. So in this, I am the writer of the story because I am supplying plot and script. Plot is Sunset Boulevard. Panel 2, building. Close in on building on Sunset Boulevard. Panel 3, elevator inside building. Elevator opens. Figure emerges, steps into boardroom. Is the boardroom full of people or is it empty? Boardroom of scientists, boardroom of accountants, okay? Boardroom of superheroes, whatever. That is story, plot. And what happens? It unfolds the elements of the story, the consequences, the characters, all of the involvement. That is the function of a plot, which is the story. I'm picking up George Perez, 1986. He's coming out to Creation Con in Disneyland Hotel. They had, I can't tell you how many, probably a dozen from 1981 to 1987 I attended. Jim Shooter, John Romita Jr., George Perez, Art Adams, Marv Wolfman, Chris Claremont. They all came. They all came out. Other people I know were going for the different Star Trek actors. Back then, the Lost in Space actors, Planet of the Apes actors. I was there for the comic book people, period. George was a guest. We had established a communication. We called each other. George would call me. In case you have the original of the original run, when George and Marv relaunched Titans in 1980, in issue 50, my name is in the guest book. The E and the I are switched, but you can see they opened the guest book and it says Rob Liefeld. That is, teenage Rob Liefeld had established a rapport with George Perez through my extreme fandom of his, going to shows, sitting next to him, one time handling the art sales for him, in I believe 1982, 83. I'd have to go back specifically, and then revisiting it again when he was out in San Diego in 86. And that's when he said he'd be coming out for a Creation Con. I picked him up with my buddy Hank Canals. Hank Canals went on to, I believe still, worked at DC for years, worked at Warner Brothers on the theme parks. Hank was my buddy. We were comic book fanatics together. We met through these, they're called APAs, Amateur Press Association, when you make kind of your own publications, staple them together and mail them to people. That was part of fandom. I was part of that. I had met George Perez. I'm picking him up. He's telling me how excited he is of his upcoming Wonder Woman. He actually has a very crisp and clean 11x17 wraparound, incredibly detailed, one of the best things George has ever drawn. And if you've seen it, you know it, the cover to Wonder Woman #1. And it is in that, when I pick him up at John Wayne Airport in Santa Ana, and George comes out, he had dropped a ton of weight. He had sunglasses. He had a brown and tan suit on. I mean, he was like a smart dressed man. He comes out, oh, hello, Rob. Yes. Well, I'll tell you what I'm more excited about is that after a rough start with a gentleman named Greg Potter, who he had started with on Wonder Woman, he told me, I'm bringing Len Wein on as my scripter. Now, many of you will know Len Wein. Right there, you can see that giant size X-Men. Boy, that lined up. Giant size X-Men. People forget. Giant size X-Men, okay? This is a juicy Len Wein. Len Wein is the writer-editor, okay? The writer-editor of Giant Size X-Men #1. Now, people don't get your, panties twisted. This is a true believer. This is a reprint. Just like this other one, reprint. The reprints have become more popular on the spinner rack because of their repeat usage. Len Wein has an incredible resume. Whether it's writing the Hulk and bringing Wolverine to life, whether it's bringing Giant Size X-Men to life with Dave Cockrum, massive, impactful creator, deserving of all the credits and the special accreditations that he receives on all the different productions that Hollywood does. Swamp Thing. I mean, Len has got an incredible body of work. I loved an unsung body of work that of his that I loved, including the Hulk that he did, is his stint doing Green Lantern with Dave Gibbons prior to Dave Gibbons doing Watchmen. What an incredible and fun creative ride that was. Len is coming on to script, and George is so excited. George and Len have known each other for years. They're at this point, they've probably been buddies and worked together for 15 years. Here it is. After 2 issues with Greg Potter as co-plotter, George Perez, issue 3 of Wonder Woman. Issue 3 of Wonder Woman. We've got George Perez is writer and artist, okay? Oh, I'm sorry, plotter, and artist, and they're warmly welcome Len Wein, scripter. Len Wein, scripter, okay? George just said that writing the book would take away, from all of the crazy detail that he was putting into the book. George was really out to prove something. And he told me in that car ride from the airport, he's like, well, John Byrne is doing Superman and Frank Miller did Batman. I had to have Wonder Woman, the third member, the key of the Trinity. And George said, and this is when I saw a glimpse into the competitive side. And I mentioned this many times, and I always will. The competitive side of comics, he said, I could not afford to be left behind. I could not afford to be left behind. He told me how excited he was. He didn't feel like he was jiving as well with Greg Potter, this other writer, on the first 2 issues. And he was so excited that Len was going to come on. What that means is what you see, what the elements and the development of the story and all the different conflicts throughout are presented by George Perez. Then for the dialogue, the actual script, the word balloons, the captions, that was handed to Len with direction, obviously, by George. Because Len is not given the story credit because he didn't write the elements of the story, but he was more than happy because he has a great ear for dialogue and understands comic book 101. He came on as scripter. Where do you think we learned all this stuff from? Now, when I took over New Mutants, now I'm penciling. George is not inking Wonder Woman. A gentleman named Bruce Patterson is inking Wonder Woman. So he is just doing the storytelling, the penciling. It's the heaviest lift on the comic book, no matter what comic book that is. He gives it to an inker named Bruce Patterson, who he had really agonized over who was going to ink his pencils because he wanted somebody who, with a crow quill, because he had worked with a lot of brush guys over at DC and he wasn't real happy with them. And I guess these are all things that George specifically told me in all of our different interactions. And he was so excited, he thought Bruce Patterson could really give him the kind of lines that were most reminiscent of when he would ink himself. Len is brought in to script the book. It saved him time. He could hand it off knowing that the script and the dialogue per what's going on. Now, if he's got an interaction with a Wonder Woman talking to Steve Trevor, well, obviously George has in mind what's being said there. And so he jots those down in notes and passes that along to Len. Len then crafts the script based on the direction from George. This is how it works with plot script. When I did New Mutants, I was penciling and inking the book myself as well as conjuring the stories and the characters. 3 guys submitted to be the script. I ultimately chose the guy who I felt that I would interact with the easiest and would give me the least hassle, least kind of just a couple of the other guys. I'm going to tell you right now, I'll just say this. A couple of the other guys that had been presented to me who had asked, could I work with you on this? They were just weird. They were weird dudes. That's what I mean. They were weird. They'd go off on tangents. I don't have time for this. I got to tell you, here's what I'm doing. Here's what Cable is saying to Cannonball. Here's what Deadpool is saying to Domino. Okay, let's go. Here's what Shatterstar is saying. Okay. And so I chose, out of the three, I chose the guy that I felt like I would get along with the best to execute my vision. That is what script is. At no point will you see on New Mutants or X-Force does it say that I am a co-plotter. I am story art. I am plot art, whatever it is. I am never anything on that book. So, ditto with Captain America. I had 50 pages completely penciled and inked when I called Joseph Loeb III, and Joseph Loeb III said, "Sure, send it my way." And that afternoon, 5 o'clock, we sent a courier from Orange County to Los Angeles to deliver the book, 11 by 17, juicy copies of the pencils and inks. He said, "Well, I thought you were going to be giving me, I thought you were totally behind. I thought you were behind, and this was going to be like stick figures to start scripting. This whole job is done." It is done. I wrote the story. I created the panels. What the artist does creates the tension, the action, the consequences, the emotion, the acting, the gestures, the body language. Jeff went to town. One of my favorite jobs that anyone has ever scripted over my story is Captain America #1 with Jeff Loeb. On New Mutants and X-Force, as I was celebrating this the other day, put up that it was the 34th anniversary? I think it is. Man, that's a lot. People said, "Oh, I really loved your art and I loved the story by the scripter." Woo! All the breaks. Okay. Just like George would not want you to be giving credit to Len Wein for the story, because Len didn't create the story. He did the word balloons and the dialogue. And does it make for a better product? Certainly it does. Someone as talented as Len Wein. A gentleman named Alan Qua, really talented artist. You've seen his stuff. I have never met him. We have spoken online. He posted this just the other day, just this week, by the way. He said, "Many times you will," I'll just read it to you. 2 days ago, Alan, reading directly from him, says, "When you tell an artist his art reminds you of another artist, you probably mean it as a compliment, but in truth it is not." I just want to put this out there. No offense taken. In the comments, there are tons of artists who weigh in. Not me, I didn't weigh in. This is another generation. Alan's younger than me. But it's clearly something that gets under the skin of the artist. Well, you know what gets under the skin of the artist? When someone is attributed to with the story who did not write one aspect of that story whatsoever. Scripters really rose in popularity in the early 90s because of the ability to hit deadlines, whether it was Jim Lee, whether it was myself, whether it was Mark Silvestri employing scripters. I have had Joseph Loeb. I have had Eric Stevenson, who's maybe my favorite. I have had the scripter on X-Force. I have had all manner of people. I have had Chad Bowers on Snake Eyes Dead Game. I have had Chad on Deadpool Batter Blood. On my last job, Deadpool Team Up, I decided to just dialogue myself, bite the bullet, take the time. It means less time I'm doing something else, but I decided let's just do it. I just want to hear the entirety of my voice. And I had some very specific line deliveries that I wanted to have. So the story has nothing to do with the script. When the script, whether it's Len Wein to Jeff Loeb, they're being given direction, I had to get on the phone, as I did with every scripter, or now email, and say, no, here's what Steve Rogers is saying to his wife here before he realizes that she's a robot. And here's what Nick Fury is saying to console Steve Rogers after he's realized that his family is phony. This is a function of story, not of script. The script has to reflect the story. So, once again, script is not the same royalty as a writer. John Byrne and Chris Claremont was writer and artist until John said, "Hey man, I'm doing too much of the lifting in regards to working out the story. I need to get a plotting credit." So co-plotter happened. I have not been a co-plotter on any New Mutants or X-Force. On Youngblood, on all of these. When you read them, I created the story. If it says Rob Liefeld story and Evangeline, that is my story. I'm sure this is also reflective because an early image, Jim Lee and Brandon Choi, maybe they were co-plotters. Maybe one was story. I don't have the books in front of me. Mark Silvestri and his brother Eric Silvestri, they split the chores. I have had Jim Valentino's script over my work. I have worked from Jim Valentino plots. One time he famously we co-plotted the Wolverine's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and he scripted it, and he also provided fantastic layouts like Frank Miller did for Klaus Janson. I wish I had them. I wanted to return the favor, so in a Marvel Comics Presents story, I provided the plot and the layouts to Jim for a story with Wolverine and Nightmare. Nightmare from Doctor Strange's Rogues Gallery was haunting his dreams. So it's fun to switch back and forth, especially with someone as capable and who's somebody who I just enjoy and love so much as I do Jim Valentino. But so writer is doing everything. Writer is doing script and story and script, okay? That's a full royalty percentage. Plot is a function, plot and script separate the writer responsibilities. And you're going to see this throughout the Bronze Age. Jerry Conway would do a plot, Jim Shooter would do a plot, David Michelinie would do the script, Len Wein would do the script. A lot of this in the Bronze Age. You'll see it if you go into your Avengers issues. You'll see Avengers issues where it says John Byrne layouts, not full pencils. Everyone else finishes. At that point, you know that breakdowns were provided, so it was not as detailed. So script is a different part of the food chain, because most people think script and they think Hollywood screenplay. That is not the comic book terminology. That's why we are in comic book university today. Script is not, oh, well, he wrote the screenplay, because on a movie set, you go, hand me the script, and it is the Sunset Boulevard. Building in Sunset Boulevard. Person gets off elevator inside building in Sunset Boulevard, approaches boardroom, okay? Script, screenplay, not the same in comics, not even remotely close. Script is dialogue, word balloons, okay? And this goes for all of this. I gave you the best example I possibly could because he was so excited. George really felt like he was in good hands and he could trust Len as they built out this Wonder Woman resume. An inker is inking over full pencils, not administering lighting sources, not administering rendering, adding muscles. Like an inker is inking the full pencils. An embellisher is applying all manner of rendering, possibly extra structure, texture, and really doing a heavier lift of the drawing. And what the penciler has done is do the majority of the storytelling. Gil Kane, John Buscema, all these guys, they had the best breakdowns and layouts. Just amazing, just fantastic. I'm not really sure much. Embellisher, finisher, inker, penciler, breakdowns, layouts, script, plot, story, writer. We covered it all here today on Comic Book University. I've worn every hat. I've been an embellisher. I've taken layouts. I've built them up. I've been an inker. I've been a penciler. I've done breakdowns. I've done layouts. I've done story. I've done plot. I've done script. Okay? It's really important to understand the different applications. I believe as Len Wein was leaving X-Men, he provided the plot and Chris Claremont provided the script. Then Chris would take over all of it and have this 10-year run and make the X-Men his own. The age of embellishers that I wish I had lived in, I got to live out a little bit in my Snake Eyes #5 Dead Game. I had an inker who had gone AWOL on me, and I had to scramble. And that's when I decided to call up everybody. Hey, Dan Panosian, will you ink a page? Hey, Dan Fragel, will you ink a page? Hey, Corey Hampshire, will you ink a double pager? Hey, Neil Adams. Do you know that's the last published work by Neil Adams? He then went into the hospital, tragically, never recovered, and passed away many months later. And Neil said to me, Rob, I'll do it, but I don't want to ink a page. I want a double pager. I want a spread. And if you don't know, I hung that phone up and I was like, hot diggity damn. I gave Neil maybe tight breakdowns. I knew full pencils would be foolish. because I'm giving it to the freaking god of artwork, Neil Adams. And every once in a while, when I want to have a big smile on my face, I open that double pager with Snake Eyes punching Dead Game. And there's the Baroness face down there. And Neil just went to town. And I could not just thank him and his family for facilitating that. That entire issue, I would do pretty tight pencils, but it didn't. Ed Piskor, Jim Rugg, Tom Scioli, everybody just brought their flavor. Murat Michaels. It was so much fun. Anybody I've left out, I apologize. It was Carl Giesel from Hawk and Dove showed up. That was like, I wish I could go back and do certain jobs that had Joseph Rubenstein doing a page, Bob McLeod doing a page, Scott Williams doing a page, Art Taber doing a page, just some of the great finishers of that era. And I mean, look, with Neil and with Carl, I did get a taste of those great Bronze Age, because Carl just fits right in there in the Bronze Age. Was doing work in 85, 86 as an embellisher, as a finisher. It's a really fun function when you can, hand somebody your art with the confidence that you've realized your vision, and now you want to see maybe somebody put a little salt and pepper on, okay? Little seasoning from somewhere else. It's a blast. Also, I think with stories, guys who did a ton of scripting, Scott Lobdell, tons of scripting over Jim Lee, over all manner of different artists. John Byrne was scripting at one point over Jim Lee's stories on X-Men. I didn't finish up about the scripting. Huge paydays. A percentage of 1 million sales is a jack ton of money, okay? A percentage. 1 point, would you rather have 1 point or no points? Would you rather come in as a scripter? Well, what happened is the reason scripting became a little less likely in the mid 90s, and I saw it, was, are you a script bitch? Are you a script bitch? Shame entered the picture, and it's like, well, I can't be scripting for anybody. What? You made $1 million. You made hundreds of thousands of dollars hanging word balloons, Don't be embarrassed by it. Rejoice. That was a great opportunity. That was huge for all these guys. Script bitch, we didn't come up with it. I have appreciated all the scripting, but I also realize what it is and for what it is. I have a friend in Hollywood. I was there with him 20 years ago. He is a script doctor. Hollywood pays him, literally, I saw him and his agent on the phone. Are they going to pay me my 7 figures? Yes, he got 7 figures to polish some big blockbusters. I'm not going to say what they are. Okay, send the screenplay. And they would say you need to do a weekend polish for 7 figures. I'm not going to say a scripter is a 7-figure polisher, but it is a polisher of, the product. Add the screenplay. Add the word balloons. Add the script. Finish the product. Scripting isn't story. Layouts aren't pencils. Embellishment isn't inking. Comic book 101. Hopefully I helped. You know that you loved my handmade placards. You know you did. Come on. Did I did I put them to the proper use? I don't know. But thanks as always for taking the trip. You guys, when I am not having fun with you here, I am all over social media. Please jump over and hang out with me on X. I am at Robert Liefeld, RobertLiefeld. Good God. That's a lot to say. It's got a blue check over on X, formerly known as Twitter. I am hanging there. I read your mentions, your replies, all the interactions. I love them so much. I can't tell people that I like Man of Steel without 1,000 people coming after me telling me how much that movie sucked. It didn't. I love it. You're never changing it, period. And I also can love the new James Gunn Superman when it comes out, which I'm ready to do. I'm ready. You can do both. That's the kind of stuff that I get thrown at me all day long over on X. At Robert Liefeld, blue check. It's really me. Check me out. Over on Instagram, join me. I'm sorry if I posted too many photos of my vacation. I was just having such a good time with my wife. We are just having the best time. Instagram, I'm at Rob Liefeld. It's so easy. RoBLiefeld. Boom! Rob Liefeld, okay? I'm putting up past, present, future art, images, vacations, people, places. Join me, Rob Liefeld on Instagram. Blue check again, really me. Love to hang with you. Love to see you there. We have a group on Facebook. It's called Rob Liefeld Marvel Extreme and Beyond. Rob Liefeld Marvel Extreme and Beyond on Facebook. Myself and a gentleman named Terry Sala, S-A-L-A. We will be the ones that click you on through. We are the administrators of the group. We have great art, incredible art contests. If you win, it's because you got voted more. There's no prize. It's like a no prize, like a, hey, you get to pick the next subject as your prize, but you get adulation and exposure. Every episode of our Rob Liefeld show, Robservations, gets posted, gets a dedicated post for us to discuss, parse, dissect, whatever, comment on in the Rob Liefeld Marvel Extreme and Beyond. We've got all sorts of up vibes there, no trolls, no fighting. We talk comics, careers. We would love to have you. Rob Liefeld Marvel Extreme and Beyond. Join us over there. I am lurking in the live stream world over on eBay. When I go there, I'll let you know. Over on Whatnot, I'm at Rob Liefeld. You'll get a notification if you go to Whatnot and you follow me, and you'll be able to see my show where we have exclusive comic books, exclusive signatures, exclusive art, we live in the exclusive space. Check us out over on Whatnot. Give me a follow. I would love to see you there. I will be at Comic-Con International. I will have brand new product, brand new Youngblood, maybe a new edition of the Bad Rock comic book that I just showed you. I would love to see you. I'll have more details as we get closer. It's about 4 weeks out. So when we get 2 weeks out, I'll have more details, but I would love to see you there. It's a giant, awesome, amazing show. It is one of my favorites. I will be smiling the full time, the entire 6 days I'm there. San Diego is the best city, and Comic-Con International is a show without equal. You can stuff more people in the door at New York Comic-Con and take that victory lap. You deserve it, but you are not the paradisimo that freaking San Diego is. You're not going to get a more beautiful vista. The Back Bay, the weather, the palm trees, the Gaslamp District. I can't wait to hang and hopefully see you. If we're walking on the street and you see me, just shout out, man. We'll do the fist bump. We'll take a photo, whatever. I love hanging with you people. It's going to be great because you people are my people. I'm your people. You're mine. You are mine. I am yours. Let's do it. Hey, thank you for hanging with me. I hope that you are doing well. I hope that your mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional state is exactly where you need it to be. And if not, take a break. It's summertime. Take a break. Days are longer. Take a break. Get out. Go to the beach. Go to the park. Take a drive. Go out with your wife, your friend. Grab coffee. Grab a great meal. Italian, Mexican food, Chinese food, Japanese, sushi, Korean. Just maybe it's a drive-through for a Sunday at McDonald's. Did I do that the other day? I did. Did I have anybody else with me? Was it alone? That's for you to figure out. But life is going to grind you. We're all carrying crazy amounts of burdens. And some days, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I've been doing nothing but working since 6:30 in the morning and it's 1:30 in the afternoon. I need to take a break. I need to get out. I need to make a call. I need to go for a dip in the pool. I need to, go for a walk in my neighborhood and just kind of set myself right. Guys, we are pulling for you. Once again, I failed to show up with a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, and I am lesser for it. How is this even possible? I have a refrigerator packed with them. They are my most stocked item of the last 10 years. In my refrigerator, there is always at least 10 Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Thank you, Joy Liefeld, for meeting me exactly where I need to be. She knows that is the best. I can really slow down to 90 seconds. I can get that thing to melt in my mouth and kind of 90-second experience. But boy, does it make a difference. Everybody rooting for you. 2 fists right into the Blue Yeti mic. Wishing you all the best. Come back. Don't leave me here. I'll be here waiting to talk to you one more time, 2 more times, as many times as possible. We will most definitely, absolutely, inevitably talk again real soon.